Do you have a bunch of old magazines just kind of hanging around the house? Have you seen even more of them out there for pennies on the dollar at garage sales or even antique stores? Maybe you've even seen them for free in the trash, bundled up here, free to a good home. Would you like to know how to turn those old magazines into valuable content? Wait, would you like to learn how to turn those magazines and make money with them online? And I'm not talking about just selling them on eBay. Would you like to learn how? Stay tuned and find out.
Being an entrepreneur sounds like, yes, another new client. I did it. But it can also sound like, I am really not understanding this technology, and I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Am I even cut out for this? That's why I started the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast, to help infopreneurs, coaches, and course creators who want to build a business online but are battling technology, overwhelm, procrastination, and even imposter syndrome. Think successfully, think differently, think bigger, and take action by learning tips from an array of business owners, all dropping knowledge on the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast. Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
What is up? What is up? What the heck is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to another dose of turning magazines into money online learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkman. And as many of you know, I've been in the coaching, course creation, and online space since like the 90s. So yeah, got a little experience under my belt. But here's the thing. Here I am still learning. And that's why I'm here, is to teach you what I am learning and what I have been learning about coaching, course creation, entrepreneurship, and infopreneurship. But all that's water under the bridge. To me, the more important question is, who are you, right? And I think the answer to that is infinitely more important, because I think you are a driven entrepreneur, or perhaps one in the making. And maybe you're even an infopreneur that's here because you're ready to start, restart, or kickstart, or even start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And I think one of the things I always want to do and try to keep doing on this show is tickle your brain, give you some new ideas. So today we're going to talk about how you can take some of those old magazines that may be laying around your house, or that you frequently see, giveaways. Here, just take this, please. Maybe you run across them at garage sales, or you see them at flea markets, or you see them in someone's trash, and how you can turn those into valuable content as well as make money online with these magazines. Now, I think one of the first things we want to start off with is, these magazines can take up a lot of space. So if you have a collection of magazines, maybe someone's kind of in your ear to get rid of them, or to at least pare down your collection, what that tells me is you have a passion about something. I don't know, maybe it's a bunch of old car magazines. You can't see it behind me, but I have a bunch of old Kiss magazines. I have a bunch of new Kiss magazines that date back to the 70s. You think some of the information in those magazines might make people giggle, make them laugh, make them go, that's interesting. They even knew about that way back then. And I think that comes to the first piece of information I want to share with you. And that's going to be choosing the right magazines to turn into your online content. Choosing the right magazines to turn into your online content it's almost the most important step in the process, because for me, and maybe you can prove me wrong, and please let me know if you do, not all magazines are going to be suitable for this project I'm about ready to discuss with you here. So it's important to carefully go through the ones that prove to be most valuable to your listeners, to your readers, to your viewers, whoever is going to consume your content. And in doing that, I want to give you a couple of tips, 4 to be exact, on how that I want you to consider as you're choosing the quote-unquote right magazine. Tip number 1, relevance. All right, so let's make sure we're choosing magazines that contain information that in some way is still relevant today. This could be timeless tips in style, timeless tips in cooking, timeless tips in DIY projects, for example, right? So many folks out there are thinking about new ways to do things themselves as money gets tighter and as things are changing on the ecoscape, so to speak. So maybe you find some things that are relevant in the 70s that it becomes relevant today. Here's another thing you can think about. Maybe it's not relevant, and that's the point. Right? So many people are holding on to something that's no longer relevant. And you can take them back to 1955 in the magazine and say, yeah, this was great information in 1955. Here's what I think today, right? And you can go on that piece. So relevance, or, maybe you juxtapose it, right? Number 2, uniqueness. I want you to look for magazines that contain more unique and hard to find information, right? Maybe it's that old recipe that so many have forgotten about. Maybe there's some vintage trends out there, right, that are coming back. Historical articles, right? Some things that's not always widely available that you can bring to the forefront and say, wow, look at this gem of information that I found. And you can be the one that maybe stokes the fire to reignite it and bring it back to the forefront. Quality. Tip number 3 here is I want you to consider the quality of the content in the magazine, right? Is it well written? Is it informative? There's lots of old magazines you might come across. I can think of a handful of names that are just rags. Maybe you want to peddle in that kind of information, because some of the information in those things that I'm talking about here that I'm thinking of, and I'm not going to name any names, were, conspiracies. That's not the right name, right? Elvis is still alive. Bruce Lee is still alive. You know what I'm talking about? Those ones. Those can be fun. Those can be a blast to share and to, debate. You could create content around that if that's the quality you're looking for. Now, if you're talking about things like car buffs, you're going to need real quality. Does the content provide some valuable insights or some tips? So I guess at the end of the day, make sure you're picking magazines that have some content that you find value in and that you think your readers, your listeners, your viewers will also find value in. And that value can be funny. It doesn't have to be purely intrinsic, improve my life value. It could be, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way. Value as well. Okay? And then tip number 4, interest, right? Think of your own interests and think of your, quote unquote, expertise when choosing the magazines, right? Now, if you're passionate about a particular topic, maybe you love knitting, maybe you love crocheting, you'll be more motivated to turn that content into valuable online content, right? So I want you to consider those 4 things as you try to choose the right magazines to turn into online content and ensure that content that you create brings value to your audience. Now, you don't have to pick just one. Maybe you're going through your stacks of magazines going, oh my God, I get all this great fishing information and I have all this great woodworking information. I have all this great relationship information over here. Maybe you just kind of separate them out. Wow, I'm going to start over here with this arena. And I'm going to try Tracy's idea and see if it works. Yeah? Here's one thing I do not want you to do with this magazine content. This is not where this idea is going. And as I share the rest of this, you'll begin to understand it. I don't want you just to take the content verbatim and put it out there, right? There may be some legal ramifications coming with that, right? Maybe some of it's part of the public domain now. Maybe some of it's not. And you might not know which is which and, get your hiney in a ringer. We don't want you to do that. What you'll want to do is find an interesting piece of content. You're like, wow, I think this would be great to share with my audience. And then write an introduction or write a summary after you've read this old magazine content that you find valuable, that you think your readers will find valuable and relevant. Now, and when you're doing that, here, I'm going to give you a couple of tips here. When you're writing these introductions, the introduction to the article should provide the context, right? And set the stage for what's about to come. And you'll want to consider including information about the topic, maybe where the magazine you came across it was, where it was originally published, when it was originally published, and why you think the information is relevant right now, today, at the time you're sharing it, and hopefully even more so relevant 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, as your content will live on, right? Especially if you're creating things like YouTube videos. Like I'll turn this podcast into a YouTube video. So I'm trying to create content that I believe will live on longer than just now, the moment you're listening to it right now. Maybe you're listening to it even a month or two after I've created it. I've been doing this particular podcast for 3 years now, and I'm hoping the content I've created from day one is still relevant today. And if it isn't, I'll go back and I'm going to change it. All right. Tip number 2 when it comes to this is write summaries. Write a brief overview of the main points of the article. This should highlight maybe any key takeaways and help the readers understand, the significance of the content without giving away any details, right? Keep all those a secret. A good summary, though, is only going to be a few sentences long. Now, okay, Tracy, you said write an introduction and then write a summary. What am I going to put in between that? Well, this is where you become the expert to your audience. You're going to put your personality into this. You're going to put your version of this content, because what I don't want you to do is just read the article. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to say, here's this great article I found from 1955. It's about great homemaking tips around the home, cleaning tips, great fishing ideas I think are still relevant today. Here we go. And then you read the article. Right? I think what you'll get is a whole lot of that. And that's not what we're here for, right? All right, so back up. You're going to write this introduction. After you've read this, you're like, man, remember, this is what I'm talking about. You're passionate about this topic. So there's a reason why you picked this particular article. You're going to figure out, oh man, here's the reason why I want to do this. Maybe it's just a couple of lines of teaser like I do at the beginning of this video or this podcast, however you're consuming this content. Something to hook them. You want to hook them in the first 10 seconds. Grab their interest and say, wait a minute, I got to listen to this. Just like I asked you. Do you want to learn how to make money with magazines? You're like, what? How do I do that? And now here you are listening to it. There you go. And then now you give the introduction, the hook, you drive it in there. Now you start sharing with them why you felt this information was valuable, where it was at. Maybe you show it to them. Maybe there are some key snippets that you do read verbatim. And I found about halfway through this, here's what it said. Here's why I think that's so darn important. And then you share it with them, and they're the key is you want to make them go, what? Yes, exactly. You're right. That's from 1976. No way. People have forgotten about that. And then you wrap that all up, and however you want to summarize that. And in that summary, you want to give them a call to action. Maybe it's try this new fishing tip. Maybe it's try this new homemaking tip. Maybe it's whatever it is, you want to wrap that up. Now, I want to give you 4 ideas of how to take this content and turn it into, what's the new up and coming? TikTok. Let's go with TikTok. Even though you're watching this on YouTube, and a lot of these tips will work on YouTube as well. Let's say you find this great magazine and you create a blog article out of it. You create a YouTube video out of it, and you're like, now, how do I drive more people to it? Well, everyone's flocking to TikTok, so let's try that. Maybe you take the information and you create this visual summary, right? You create this visual summary using some text overlays. You only have seconds here, right? Don't forget about the hook. You're just going straight for the jugular at this point. Or you could create a series of short videos that highlight the key points from the article and then tell them if they want to hear the whole thing, here's where they go. And you send them to wherever you're hosting the whole thing, your podcast, your video, your YouTube, your blog. Maybe you create a tutorial or how-to video, an article that contains the instruction tips on how to do something. Hey, you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, then you're going to do that. Just bing, bang, boom. Just really hit them really fast, 10, 15 seconds worth. And again, you want to drive them to your long version somewhere else. Or you can do some of it where they do the time lapse, where you're actually walking them through that, and you actually. I talk with my hands. I'm sorry. And for those of you on the podcast don't know, my hands are flying all over the place. But you could do one of those instructional videos in a time lapse, so you don't lose their interest because it's taking forever to walk them all the way through it. Again, share your insights or your thoughts, your input, your unique perspective about the article in a TikTok video, and say, hey, I give you the full version down here. And then last but not least, I think you could host a Q&A, right? Yeah, if the article covers a topic that maybe quite a few people, and hopefully you have an audience, or as you build that audience, maybe they have questions, and you can host that Q&A where you answer the questions from the viewers on that topic. That could be a great way to build your engagement with your audience, right? And prove that you're bringing the value to that audience. Now, I would love to say that I was just walking through my house and saw a stack of magazines and bing, this idea popped into my head, but that's not the fact. I read a story about a lady in the UK, and she's currently earning like £8,000 per month by reading old magazines. Yeah, right? And let me see. I'm going to pop up the old Google here and say £8,000 to dollars for my American friends. It's $9,700 by current value here today as of January 8th when I'm recording this. There you go. Now here's what she does. She goes to the garage sales and she buys up all the old magazines that she can find. Now, she says the older, the better. And I would concur on this, because obviously the recent magazines, everyone's probably already read them, right? And so if you can go back and find old magazines, like I said, I got some from the 70s here. Let's go back even further. And then she goes through them and finds the interesting articles and turns them into her own brand new content by commenting on what she read. Hear me, by commenting on what she read, not by reading it through, right? Here's an example. I tried this weird recipe from 1932, and here's what happened. What? 1932? If you're into cooking and recipes, I like cooking, that might catch your ear, right? And here's another one. 14 life hacks from World War II that will save you 500 pounds a month. Wait, what? How can life hacks from World War II save me money today? Right? You see where I'm going with this? It's these unique little curiosity sparks that pop up. 7 dating tips from 1955 that will blow your mind. What? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So she, again, much as I've suggested to you, she doesn't copy the content, but rather she talks about what it is she read, and then she owns her own thoughts and comments and shares that with her audience. Okay? That's pretty much what I was telling you to do here. Now, she uses this content. What she's done, and I'm actually probably going to try this, is she's built these niche sites. She's built some on vintage cars, on cosmetics, and on fashion, and on recipes, and etc. There's like 10 of them I think she's already built. Actually, as I correct myself here as I'm looking down at my notes, she's built 20 of these niche sites already. She has plans to build 10 more. And she monetizes these through advertising, through affiliate products, and merch. You know, the way everyone else is monetizing everything, right? So now just imagine if she used this same content to, say, create TikTok videos, like I was just explaining a little while ago, or YouTube videos. You think she can make even more money? Yeah, this is probably one of the most unique concepts I've heard in quite some time. You could create your own niche if you have a niche that you're already working on. This is another angle you could add to it to add a whole nother extra layer of flair, right? Yeah. And here's the other thing. Once you're done with your old magazines, what do you do with them? Yeah, go ahead and put them on eBay. Sell them for a few dollars more than what you originally paid for. It's a win-win. And think about it. The possibilities here are endless. So the next time you're walking through your house, or you're at a garage sale, or at some flea market somewhere, and you see that stack of old magazines, think of your dark horse friend Tracy, and the idea I just popped into your head, they might just be worth their weight in gold. Give it a try. All right, my friends, with that, I'm going to leave you as I always do. Think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.
Hey, this is Bayard Winthrop, founder of American Giant. Back in 2011, I was fed up, sick of cheap disposable clothes that fell apart after a few washes, and even more sick of the fact that almost nothing good was made here anymore. So I started American Giant to prove something, that we could still make the absolute best hoodies, t-shirts, and pants right here in America, with American cotton, American factories, and American workers earning real wages. We exist to bring manufacturing home, create good jobs in towns that need them, and build clothes that actually last. No shortcuts, no overseas compromises. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code GIANT20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code GIANT20 at american-giant.com.